Let's go. Hello, everyone. You are listening to the GearyCast live on Sports Direct Radio, and as part of the ever-growing contingent of the Sports Social Podcast Network, we are amongst brand new friends on that particular network. So go and check all the available ones we've got out there, because Mr. Luke Chambers joins me. But Luke, you made a very good point the other day. We've got some famous colleagues, haven't we?
We have, mate. I think the GearyCasts are now amongst celebrities, dare we say.
It does. It feels nice to be able to call Phil Keithrow, Sid Lowe, and certain Alex Kirkland as part of the same stable as the GearyCast. But we were there first. Let's not forget we were the pilots of this particular Spanish football.
It does seem like that. I mean, every day we see more and more and big podcasts getting lined up and signed up for the sports socials, and it'll be interesting when we bump into them one day at dinner time, maybe in the staff room.
When we're at the country retreat, the podcast retreat or the barbecue, then we'll trade information over that, because they did.
It's going to be some Christmas do.
It will be, yes, and they so kindly brought up Alfonso Herrera's heroics from the weekend on their podcast as well. So it's only fair that we point people in their direction too. But as I said, I'm joined by the one and only Luke Chambers. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm very well, Nick. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not doing too bad. We've just been explaining that we're both exhausted through work, but if there's one thing that we're always committed to, is making sure that the people who listen to this podcast are fully up to date with all things Malaga Club de Football and who they will be playing on the weekend. So, first things first, let's get into some cracking news from La Rosaleda. Quique Perez has been speaking in a press conference this week, and he's been talking about a few key points. Firstly, Luke, season ticket holders, if you are a season ticket holder at Malaga Club de Football, what little treat will you be getting?
They will be getting a free ticket for the playoff games. Hopefully games.
Yeah, caveat.
But, I believe it's a bit of a thank you to the fans, maybe. Hopefully the season ticket holders do show. I mean, the amount of times where we've had this before and we believe it's a sellout, you get there, it's not really a sellout, but come on, it's playoffs. It's got to be a sellout, isn't it?
Yeah, he's speaking to you, Mr. Paul Hedihan. He's talking directly to you. No, but you're absolutely right. It's a great reward for a fantastic fan base. It's obviously not usually the done thing either. I've been to many Blackpool playoff campaigns, and it's always an additional cost on top of your season ticket as well. So for Quique Perez, especially what we've got to come up shortly as well, knowing full well that he could have made an absolute wedge out of this one or two games. It's quite an interesting route to take. He's also been on and said that Sergio Pellicer will be seeing Malaga Club de Football through the playoffs. Luke, I know we had some good chat about this morning. There's a lot of people that have been calling for Pellicer to go to give us the best chance of getting through the playoffs, but we're both on the same page, aren't we? We're thinking just leave it as it is, and
I think if anything else is going to happen, the harm's been done. I don't think it's going to get any worse for us. We're in a big community with the GearyCast, obviously, and we've all got our views. And I am very much don't really want Pellicer anymore. I think you're not far off that, Nick. The rest of the Geary, Chris, etc. We've kind of fell out of love with him a little bit. However, I don't think right now is the time to get rid of somebody. I think he deserves enough respect, what he's done for Malaga, to see the job through, whether that's go up or go down. I even think if we go up, I think you said it earlier, Nick, if we go up, I think he's man enough to walk away from this as well. Seeing it as the end of an era, maybe.
Yeah, there's your two schools of thought on it, really. The first one being, if you're going to pull the trigger, it should have been pulled a few weeks ago, similar to what Ibiza have done. And it's not really worked out for Ibiza either, let's not forget. They're still plummeting and, have made the playoffs in the same, very unhammered fashion that Malaga have. So it doesn't always work. But secondly, as you mentioned, he is someone who has given a lot to the club, in his previous spells as manager, to, his tutelage in the, Atletico Malagueño years that he was with the club. So I would say he kind of deserves to go out on his own terms. And I think that's the respect you've got to give him.
When you look at our current set of squad, our current first teamers, I guess, Sergio's brought, 7 or 8 of them through the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the respect of them players. Them players trust him. They believe in him. A couple of players have come out and also backed up Quique Perez and Lauren Jarios. So yeah, why not? Why not us as Malaga fans just sit back? I know it can get annoying. It really can. But as we know, he doesn't like to lose. That is what happens in playoffs. We may be boring as hell, but look, if we get a promotion on our back off 4-0 draws and 2 penalty shootout wins, then all be it, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's a weird one because there was, I don't know if it was rumours or whether it was true or whether there was reports, I should say, that at the end of the game against San Fernando, there was a lot of shouting between Quique Perez and Loren, about the vote of confidence they gave him in the week before, saying, no, we've still got full confidence in Sergio Pellicer, and he's kind of not taken that very well. He kind of sees it a bit of a kiss of death type thing, but this feels like doubling down from Quique Perez, kind of maybe to Sergio Pellicer saying, look, you're still with us, we're backing you, but also maybe don't shout at me, don't tell me what to do when I'm giving you my backing.
I know Malaga don't do everything with common sense, we'd say, but I think this particular press conference from Quique Perez, we've seen on socials, or I've seen a lot of it this week, where people are trying to get the fans and the team back together. Mm-hmm. Like we know ourselves, the Malaguistas and Malaga will always back Malaga, but this week there just seemed to have been a little bit of unrest. So over the last few days, even the David La Rubia statement, what he put out, things like that, it's like we know ourselves, Malaga aren't a team without the backing of the fans, and we all need to be one big unit. And obviously the news, what we're about to talk about after this, I think they are trying to drag it all back in and get everyone back on side.
They are, and the news that Lude is alluding to, or I assume he's alluding to, is that the final thing that Quique Perez says in his press conference is that he wants Ramon to stay at Malaga, and he also wants to build the team around him, basically, and make him the keystone to the future of Malaga Club de Football and the playing side that we'll have. Do you agree with him on that, Luke? Do you think he should be the centre man?
Yeah, 1,000%. If that boy's fit, he's by far the best player in our squad, probably the league.
Let me ask you that for a question. Would you build your house on a unreliable foundation?
It's risky, but I don't want to see Ramon going anywhere this summer, or even early next whatever spring, autumn. I can't even get my seasons right then. I think this is a statement again. It puts a little bit more faith in the fans that there is a vision going forward. Maybe I do believe we are going to lose Roberto in the summer. Even if we go up, maybe if these bigger fish are swimming around him, somebody eventually is going to pay the fee what Malaga are looking for. We need somebody like Ramon, a proper Malaguista, who is not only just a local boy, he's a very, very good player when available.
Yeah, it's always useful to have those, especially like you said before, those players that have come through. But, both him and Roberto are two very luxury players for this level. Roberto's not scored that many in the second half of the season, but he's still the second highest goal scorer at this level, behind Jesus de Miguel for Castellón. So it shows the quality of the player. And as you said, Ramon on his day is absolutely unplayable. The only thing that worries me a little bit is if you're going to build a team around him, what if he's not there to be in the team in the long term because he's, as we saw the other day, he's pulled up with a fresh injury or, knock on wood. We'll hope that. But obviously very nice for Quique Perez to say. So plenty of bountiful good news. Now for some bad news. Malaga are in the shit financially, as we well know. What you don't want is a £1.4 million tax bill dropping on your doorstep from 10 years ago. That's like, I've got something similar going at the minute. And I won't bore you, Luke, but from my old house, I used to have this cashback card with the old energy company we had, and they've just sent me a letter saying, we're going to send some debt collectors round to your house. I'm like, oh, shit. Come on, debt collectors come around with us. How much is his debt for? £6. I was like,
you could take a lot for £6, Nick.
Exactly. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm with the same energy company now, and you owe me 1,700 quid. So just take it from there, why don't you? But yeah, so me and Malaga Club de Football in a very similar situation at the minute. But this is
You never thought you'd say that in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Both of us are being landed with finances that we didn't expect to have a few years ago. But 1.4 million is a lot of money for Malaga, especially when they don't make a lot of money at the moment.
Yes.
And again, it's maybe this bad running of the club from, over 10 years ago now, coming back to bite them in the arse again, because this was an issue with the tax regarding Julio Baptista's contract. So this is how far we're talking. Basically, he was supposed to be paying 50%, but he was only paying 25%, was he, Luke? 24%. And now the difference has got to be paid by Malaga Club de Football, which, when you don't budget for that, Luke, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. This at our level, particularly 1.4. I mean, 1.4 million to a lot of these clubs in this league could effectively finish them. I know Malaga's nowhere near that, obviously, but it's a big, big dent. I mean, a 1.4 million could effectively be next summer's transfer budget or
pretty much, yeah,
things along them lines. But I mean, this has taken 12 or 13 years for the Spanish authorities to catch up on this.
Oh,
we know the Spaniards.
They're always happy, aren't they?
Like, to relax, but I think you have mentioned it then, Nick.
They're after Shakira.
The scary thing about this, I guess, is there more to come? This were from the same period where we've suffered financial punishment before, i.e. being banned from Europe and stuff. We had a hell of a lot of big names in that team. I hope this is not the start of it, because then it could finish us.
Oh, no, definitely. Well, a watching brief on that one to see what Malaga do. I know I joked on Twitter, said that's Roberto's price tag for the summer that's been set now at 1.4 million.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Which could be the solution. I don't know. But to kind of link it to the other two stories we've got, one is related to Ricardo Horta. Basically, the panel for the arbitration of sport have said that Malaga will get paid. And they're looking for about 13 million. However, for every single day that Braga don't pay, they're going to charge Braga €1,500 to give to Malaga, which in my brain seems like a cheaper option than 13 million pounds. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I'm sure it doesn't work that way, but we were saying before we came on, this is a mess, and we're not going to see anywhere near the money that we need to see from it, are we?
Personally, I don't think so. It's totally different to it, but it stinks of Altani kind of case. This one of them cases what's just gone on for so long. I mean, I remember publishing last August, I think it was, about that we were definitely guaranteed this money from Braga, and then I think it was December we won another court case where Braga have got to pay up. We're going to get this. We're going to get that. It's now the end of the season. This is a small headline about we're getting £13.5 million. If we was guaranteed to get £13.5 million, it would be huge, I imagine.
Do you reckon Braga can help me avoid the £6 I need to pay to the energy company? They seem to have a good tactic for delaying their repayment.
I mean, I wonder what kind of price you get on a 1992 Malaga shirt or something, what's in the back of your closet. One of them you're just not bothered about. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, I just said we'll just keep it in a card by the door. Just put £6 in there. If they come, just give them the card. It'll cost them more to come out. But
if Malaga had a bill of €6, I'm sure we could send them a Viles and that'd take away €4 of it, you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. But so one to watch on that, really. There's going to be a decision next week where the TAS are going to really, come down and make their decision, whether that changes anything from Braga's perspective, because there's also the part where I didn't expect Ricardo Horta to even still be there, and there's this huge sell-on clause that Malaga have got for that, and I know they've brushed off overtures from Benfica in the past, but as you mentioned before, he's 29 now. He's not getting younger, and his best years are maybe behind him now. But yes, it'll be interesting to see. I mentioned there was a second story to this because we were talking about Julio Baptista earlier. Julio Baptista could be back on the Costa del Sol sometime soon, but as part of a Galactico takeover of Estepona. So Estepona obviously into the playoffs, I believe, or just missed out on the playoffs, sorry, in the Segunda REFA. But a certain R9, Mr. Ronaldo himself, after fresh from leaving Real Valladolid, is interested in taking over the boardroom at Estepona, and he is quoting that he would like to bring in Julio Baptista as manager with Roberto Carlos, nonetheless, as his assistant. That's fun, isn't it, Luke? That sounds fun.
I mean, in that kind of league, can they still do a job, do we think? Cannot be up to the size of R9, don't get me wrong.
Maybe.
He's not going to be that tricky player anymore. But yeah, like you were saying, really, really fun times for Estepona and a story for everybody to keep their eyes on. I think if this pulls through, it'll be massive for him. The interesting quotes from Ronaldo apparently is he wants to buy a club along the Costa del Sol. If only there was a club on the Costa del Sol with poor ownership, wanted to get rid of the club. Something could look so nice and pretty for him.
It would be good with a Julio Baptista and Roberto Carlos.
I'm talking about Marbella, obviously.
yeah. Torremolinos. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to watch. Obviously, Salvi Ballesti's just gone there as just gone there as manager, hasn't he? So you know, he's just taken over. It's obviously a bit of a shock for him, but I suppose when a new board comes in and wants to make their own changes, you kind of just got to go with the flow. And obviously, Julio Baptista is a legend of Malaga. Roberto Carlos, with his time with Real Madrid, they've both got management experience as well in different capacities, so they're not fresh out the box into this. So
if it comes through, it's really, really exciting times for Estepona. Like you've just said, R9 just came fresh out of Real Valladolid. I mean, that's a big club, a very big club. So
he's shown that he can run it, and
exactly. I believe they had a promotion and a relegation in his tenure. But yeah, I mean, end of the day, what kind of players could Estepona kind of bring in? I'm not talking your big names or anything, but if you had R9 as your boss, a bit of football along the Costa del Sol,
why not?
R9, I'm here waiting, baby.
Yeah, Luke Chambers, freshly retired. Give me a ring. But so keep your eye on that one. Also, obviously, great news on Atletico Malagueño making it to the playoffs for yet another season. I won't go into the details of how their playoff system is going to work, because if you think the Primera REFA one is complicated, fuck me, theirs is even worse.
They've got about 50 games to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, they finish in sometime in mid-August by the time you know if they've actually got promoted or not. So we'll keep you abreast with any updates we've got from them. And then just to touch on some injuries before we get into the preview of the Antequera game, we are going to be missing Musa, Juan Hernandez, and Ramon from this week's game week. Musa obviously pulled up Luke in the last game against San Fernando. Didn't look great. Ramon twinged himself the week before, but it's a matter of weeks rather than months for him.
Yeah.
And is Juan Hernandez injured, or has he just been abducted and just missing in action?
Well, basically, on my notes, like I just said regarding Musa, sprained his ankle. So it's not as bad as it might have looked, but with games running out, I'd be surprised if we did see Musa again this season. Ramon, as you've just said, a groin injury, I believe it was. Not the same as his horror injuries he's suffered over the last 2 years. So again, slightly positive news. My quotes on Juan Hernandez is I think he's out trying to find a career. Because I really do not know. To be honest, mate, I would be surprised if we see any of the three again this season, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Well, let's get talking about the next game then. So we are playing Antequera this weekend at La Rosaleda as well. 6 o'clock on Saturday night if you're in the UK, or 7 o'clock on Saturday night if you are in Spain. Obviously, this is as close as you're going to get to an actual derby game. The levels aren't there. It's very much, I put this in a Blackpool versus Fleetwood kind of derby. It's not really a derby, so we don't like to call it a derby. But in terms of proximity, literally just down the road, Antequera having a fantastic season in their first season in the Primera REFA. Only 3 points off the playoffs at the moment with 2 games to go. 6 points, sorry, beg my pardon, not 3 points. Still with a chance, though. Still with a slight possible chance, I believe, if they can see Ceuta and everyone above them lose games as well. But I've not seen loads of them, Luke, but they've done quite well, haven't they?
They've done fantastic for the first time, first season at this level of football. They seem to play, based on stats, they seem to play an attractive style of football. They seem to be better away from home than at home. They've won 8 games on the road, which at this level especially is fantastic. We've seen Malaga's not been too bad away from home, to be fair, but we've drawn a lot more games than we seem to have won, or we could have won, whereas Antequera have been winning. The real story about Antequera, and I don't know if anybody saw it on my Twitter feed, is the manager, Javier Medina. So Javier is the youngest manager in the top 3 divisions of Spanish football, maybe all Spanish football. He's 30 years old. Never had a managerial job before this. He was at Betis Bay, and then he was Antequera assistant manager. He got the job when Segovia, the former manager, left in the summer due to could not agree a contract. Do we know where Segovia went to, Nick?
Oh, test me on this one.
We did. We covered him the other week.
Algeciras?
No, he went to Atletico Sanluqueño.
Ah, that was it.
Quite a bad move for him, as he's now watching his young child basically tackle for a playoff spot. But yeah, just a little bit more on Medina. I'm very much in his corner, but his first ever season as manager, he's took the club to the highest place of football they've been to with a win percentage of 44%. For me, Antequera's had a fantastic season. It wasn't very good when we played him, as I'm sure we're going to cover, but yeah, 8th place, brilliant.
Well, that's it. I think if I was to ask you, Luke, at the start of the season, would you have put at the end of the season Antequera, I say a mere 11 points behind Malaga, but still in the hunt for the same playoffs that we've only just confirmed ourselves? I would have put them way off the pace on that one. So, an impressive side. And, we praise Medina there for his football, his philosophy, and obviously being very, very young and from the area. Are we in a bit of a shopping brief here? Could we be looking up the road for a potential for next year? I don't want to make rumours, but he'd be as good as anybody at this level in charge of our club. Exactly.
It's like you've mentioned before, Nick, I think, regarding let's act like the bigger club for once. Teams like Antequera, who was the winger? Loren, was it?
Loren, yes. He went to
very, very good winger. Yeah, we totally missed out on, but again, that was a chance to be the bigger boys, thinking, right, we're going to take you. I do believe with Medina, people want experience. I totally get that. But in terms of where did Xabi Alonso come from? Where did managers like that come from? Everybody's got to start somewhere. This would seem a bit of an exciting project. Like you say, he probably lives in Malaga. It's only an hour away.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to go for him at all. I think this is me with my football manager's head on, or if I maybe owned a club or something. but he's looking very good. He has only just recently signed another 1-year deal. I don't think at this level the compensation fees would be too high. Whether Malaga want to play that, I don't know.
No, well, to be fair, we're talking about this from we're a bigger club level, but obviously Antequera have just been taken over by Mick Garlick and the crew. The Geary crew up in Antequera, and they've probably got more cash than we have at the minute. So, let's see what happens with that one. In terms of, obviously, in this game, it kind of sidesteps a little bit because Antequera are going to come to La Rosaleda and want to play. And as you said, they are quite good on the road. And I tell you what a fantastic way to finish the season by giving, the big dogs a bit of a bloody nose. What's PSA got to do in this game to stop that? And again, we've said this week after week, Luke. How do we get the mojo back for Malaga? How do we get them playing in a rhythm and playing so they can actually score some fucking goals?
I honestly think it's a strange one, Nick. I was wondering this earlier. For the first time, I don't actually know what he's going to do or what he can do. Do you do a mass overhaul of the starting 11? Probably not. You play at the end of the day, you're playing in a derby. You've still got the chance to catch Ibiza. Have we used every player? Have we used them all in these positions where we're thinking, well, he can do a job there, he can. That's going to make us win.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't know, mate. I really don't know. I've been a big fan all season of let's have 2 centre forwards. We only have 2 centre forwards, so if that didn't work, I don't know where we go. But yeah, if anything, I'd just like to see an attacking performance. But we've had 36 games and we've probably seen 3 attacking performances. So, in all honesty, Nick, I don't know where we go for this one.
I would like to see a couple of those young lads come back in again. And when I say young lads, I mean really young lads. The Aaron Mature Malone's, the Antonitos, the Izan Marinos. I don't think there's complacency in this team. Far from it. But I just don't think there's an enthusiasm from them at the minute. And for me, if I was to put a bit of fun back into it, and I saw Antonito coming against San Fernando at the weekend, and he was lively, he was buzzing to be there. And if you did that across the pitch, you might end up with a little bit more. It's a risk against Antequera, but we're not playing for fuck all now, so who gives a shit?
Exactly. You mentioned the risk, Nick. The risk, I believe, is just because it's a derby. Besides that, there is no risk. It's risk-free football. The experience, what they get by playing in a derby, it'd be great for them. I've been a big fan of the youth all season, and I wish we'd seen a little bit more of them as well, because the talent, what's in Malagueño on the 19s and things like that, Malaga's academy is unbelievable, and we wax lyrical about it. We want these players to be our players. We want to enjoy them in Malaga shirts. We've seen it far too many times where Izan Moreno gets a move to Betis or Getafe or, you know what I mean? And then they never, ever play. They never play, but we've lost a particular talent. I mean, Izan Moreno, perfect. When was the last time we seen him?
Well, that's it. Well, he's still good enough to be called up for the Spain under-18. So
exactly.
why can't he come in and do something alongside Molina or in place of Canaro?
Exactly. Last weekend when we played a terrible game against San Fernando with a team where 85% of the players aren't performing, Izan Moreno was playing for Malagueño. And like you've just said, he's the captain of the Spanish under-18s. Why aren't we using him in the 3rd division?
No, absolutely. And I think in a game like this is where you could possibly use him as well. Like, I'm looking at this team, and I think the first thing we need to do is stop fucking around with the centre-back partnerships at the moment. Yes. I think we've got Nelson Monte coming back from suspension. Einar is available again. Those two had some imperious form for a while, and then all of a sudden he started to tinker with things and started bringing Juan Day into it. He needs hooking out the limelight a little bit. Obviously, Moose is injured. Just get that solid back four that, something that can, give Herrera a bit of faith that he's, not going to be just parrying shots the entire game.
Nick, you've played football. I played football at whatever level. You've managed, coached, etc. One of the rules is you don't fuck about with your back four.
No.
You try and keep a stable back four. Granted, this season we've got a great defensive record. That's mainly against the strikers, what we've played against, I believe. But leading into the playoffs, we need a solid back four. If that's Hakeem, Einar, Monte, and Victor, play them every single game now. Yeah. Let's try and get that stability back.
If you was to pick your 11 now, if you put your Sergio Pace head on, who would you go for in this? What would be your 11
for this game, for Antequera?
Or for every game, I suppose, like between now and end of the season.
In terms of this, Herrera in the net, obviously. I guess I've got to go with what I've just said in terms of the back four.
Yeah.
I think Puga's done very well. But to stick Puga in as your number one right back at this stage doesn't really make too much sense.
Even after the Hakeem show against San Fernando, do you think maybe Puga don't?
Well, I listened to the pod the other night, and I totally agree with you guys. Hakeem was shocking. And if I were available, I would 100% put that he was my Chumbo as well. I don't know. I think it's maybe just a game too late.
Well, we made the great caveat on that as well, that I think Hakeem is only as good as the player that is behind him, especially in that kind of system where, the right back role's been redefined. You don't have a flat right back anymore. It's very much a roaming right back or a right wing back. And I think if you've got Juande behind you who will literally fucking run into you like he did against San Fernando, then you're not going to have confidence in your game. Whereas if you've got someone like Nelson Monte behind you, you could flourish a little bit more. So I can see why maybe Joaquin, doesn't deserve to be put on the scrap heap just for a bad couple of appearances, because he's been decent this season, to be fair.
He has. His defensive work's been better than his attacking work. And again, I believe that's a big key as to why we've not conceded too many goals. Just going back to my team, Nick, I've got to finish it off whilst I've started it.
Yeah.
Herrero, back four, Genaro in front of it. I know you guys had a good discussion about him the other day. I do think we're a better team with him. I do think we need that fucking dog in there, if you know what I mean. Someone's going to put the foot in. Next to him, it would be Manu all day. But for this particular game, on my notes, I'm not a fan of Sangale at all. But I think Manu just needs a rocket up his ass and maybe just starting him on the bench. Maybe that. But saying that, actually, scrap Sangale, Aaron Ochoa Maloney for this start, alongside Genaro. He knows he's got the experience player next to him in Genaro. Probably learn the dark arts of the game playing next to him. And then in front of them, I've got a three of Antonito, David Ferrero, and if Kevin's back, get Kevin back in. Try and get a bit of confidence back in him with Roberto running the front line.
Yeah.
How are you thinking?
I would go not too dissimilar. I think Herrero, naturally. I don't think there's anyone else. Can I have a team of Herreros? Could that be the way? Can I put Herrero up top? Because obviously he's
I think we all want a team of Herreros.
Herrero, I would go with Pruga for this one, because I think for Joaquin, just to pull him out a little bit, Monty, Einar, Victor. I think for me, I'd go with a defensive double pivot of Genaro and Isa Marino in this one.
Yes.
Just for a bit of stability in there. It will be very flat, very defensive, but I think we need a game where we can just sit and control a game, and those two will let us enable us to do that. Danny Lorenzo ahead of that as well. I think a big issue with Danny Lorenzo in the last game that he was playing far too deep for me. He needs to be playing off Roberto rather than alongside Genaro or Molina. And then I'd go with yourself. I'd have Antonito in there. Give him, why not? He showed more in that last 45 minutes last weekend than he did the most I've done all season. And then I'd have Kevin back in there as well alongside Roberto.
I think Kevin's a player when he's got his confidence, he's better in the team than not, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So,
a good point at the moment, Nick, is so we're qualified for the playoffs, etc. Yes, it is a derby. The result will mean a lot, but it's not the big derby to the Malaguistas, is it? I know they want to win every game.
Seville or Granada or something like that.
No. Does Sergio Pellicer use his mind a little bit in terms of the bigger picture? So I'm talking about 60 minutes in, it's 1-1 or 1-0 Malaga. Does Roberto need to play 90 minutes, risking a bit of injury? Maybe. I mean, a player like that, we know Roberto gets injured, playoffs, don't we?
Yeah, he'll probably do that anyway. But I think my biggest thing for these last two games is we're in for a slog, and you need your best team to be playing in form, and in order to be in form, they need to play. There's also that caveat of getting above Ibiza, because I mentioned on the last podcast. I know that Chris wasn't too excited or enamored about playing B teams in the other side, but that's where the B teams are. That's where Barca Bay and Salta Fortuna are going to be. But also just anything to avoid Cordoba. And if we finish third to Cordoba second, then we're going to avoid each other. And it means possibly, we could both go up, which would be great. But if there's one team I don't want to play in these playoffs, that is Cordoba, given the momentum, the quality, how well they play and things like that. So I think Sergio's got to look at that smart and say, well, keep the players going. Let's try and get some form and play football together, and then try and get third.
You've seen it before. You've seen it before as a Blackpool fan heading into a playoff. Nothing beats winning mentality.
Oh, well,
we need wins. We desperately need a win.
That's why, Blackpool's have always been like that. The year we got promoted into the Championship for the first time, we went on a 10-game winning streak. This obviously isn't the same, but if you get those games and you can stop the rot, and you can build up a bit of confidence, a bit of momentum, you start to sway with it.
I mean, it don't work for everybody.
No,
I put my
Doncaster
over.
Doncaster like, but they were almost there, almost. But yes, we shall watch that game with bated breath. Unfortunately, there isn't going to be a live stream this weekend, but I do believe that Alex Ashmore is going to be reporting from the stadium. Luke, you're going to go watch, I think, is it Man United women? You're watching?
So a bit more ground up in, jumping in back in Old Trafford after 20 odd years away. But Man United women versus Chelsea women.
Yeah, I hope it's not raining.
I hate making plans when Malaga's on, but I just thought this one maybe a bit of a dead rubber. Let's get out. You
wanted to go and see the great Old Trafford Falls, didn't you? That's what it was.
Well, interestingly, my seat is actually bang on underneath the Old Trafford Falls. So I'm praying for no rain.
Well, we'll start to wrap up there on that one. Just before we go, we'll just remind you of the games happening all around Primero Grupo Dos this weekend. First of all, on Saturday, we have got Intercity versus Castilla, Algeciras versus Castellón, Recreativo Granada versus Recreativo Huelva, Linares Deportivo against Alquiano, Ceuta against Athletic Bay, Salaqueño against San Fernando, Ibiza against Cordoba, Malaga against Antequera, Melilla against Atletico Baleares, and Real Murcia versus Merida. The fun part of this, Luke, everyone's playing at the same time.
It's quite cool. We could, if we was doing live, we could do like a bit of a Gillette Soccer Saturday kind of thing.
Yeah, be Hefe Stelling.
Interestingly, Nick, just something to add on that. The biggest game of the weekend isn't actually in Grupo Dos. It's Grupo Uno, where it could have some effect on who we're playing. So currently we're paired up with Gimnastic Tarragona. So Tarragona are away at second place Barça Bay this week. There's currently 3 points between them. Without looking at the head-to-head, I'm not too sure who won the first leg. If Gimnastic win and they beat them at home, we would then be playing Barça Bay. Also, Celta Fortuna have a very important game against, I can't remember the name, but they are 7th away. So again, they can take over. Yeah, they can take over Gimnastic, Barca can drop. But then even leading into the last game of the season, Celta Fortuna are at home to Barcelona. So there is a hell of a lot. What currently we have got Gimnastic Tarragona. That is not set in stone. I wish it was, because I've got a fucking brilliant plan for Tarragona. But
there's a lot of variables with the Grupo Uno.
Massively.
Because whether it's the games that they're playing against each other, the last two games, there's still the fact that Celta Vigo could drop into Segunda, Cadiz getting a
Cadiz won, exactly.
The other day. So, it's still not all okay in Vigo. And obviously, if they drop down, Fortuna's season is over. They can't go up. So it'd be interesting to watch and see. And like I say, these last two games, all being at the same time, it's going to be a good watch if you're into third-tier Spanish football. So
we love it.
The one that we need to keep an eye on is making sure that we beat Antequera, but also the fact that Ibiza against Cordoba, that'll be an interesting game to keep an eye on as well. So because our head-to-head with Ibiza is better too. So even if we are on level points, we'll still be above them in the table. So yes, that is everything all wrapped up. As I said, no live stream this weekend, but we'll be back with a review of this game early on next week. As per usual, if you want to know more about the Geary Cast or keep up to date with all the latest news straight from La Rosaleda, go and follow us on Twitter or X, if it might be known as now, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media channels. We are on there and we are always keeping you up to date. Anything for you to plug, Luke? Any news or anything before we go?
I think that's it, mate. Just apologies. Can't talk. I know you guys apologise every day. Apologies for last weekend with the lives. We love doing it, but we also have lives and things happen in life. Apologies for this weekend, but keep your eyes out, as Nick says, for Alex, because Alex is in and around the media, I believe. So it should be another good show for you all.
So it shall. And thanks for joining me once again, Luke.
Thank you as always, mate. Pleasure. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully 3 points in El Derby and vamos Malaga.
Absolutely. A huge 3 puntos up for grabs in the Malaga derby as Antequera visit La Rosaleda. Thank you very much to everyone for listening at home. Once again, your support is always appreciated. And as always, vamos Malaga.